Hey guys, Mr. Gray 3IS here, and in today's video we are going to be installing the TensorWorks OEM Plus CarPlay and Android Auto module. Now this module is super cool because it is plug and play onto the vehicle, and it turns your OEM infotainment screen into one that's capable of producing CarPlay and Android Auto. You don't have to swap your screen with an Android one. You have the luxury of using your OEM amenities in your OEM screen, and then you could switch over to CarPlay like you would in the more modern Lexus and more modern cars. First thing we are going to need to do is pretty much disassemble all of this right here. The center console, the radio, and in the way I'm going to show you how to install it, we're going to take out the clock and AC just a little bit, and we're also going to pull out the screen. It sounds a little intimidating, but it's quite simple, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Okay, so first thing you do to take out your center console area is we're going to pull this padded bolster outwards. Once you pop it out, you just pull it this way, and it comes right out. Then you're going to take out two Phillips screws, one here and one here. And once those two are out, you're pretty much just going to pry this way, and this whole section is going to come out. And there's a bunch of clips that run along this. Like this. And now it looks like this, and you just do the exact same thing to the other side. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is open this center console, and from here I'm going to grab these cup holders and this part right here. You're pretty much going to grab it and pry up, and this will all unclip. And it is attached by a plug, so don't yank it out all the way, but once you lift it up, just squeeze here and unplug it from right there. Now you might be able to tell I did have to remove my carbon fiber cover for the center console for this next part because it doesn't split right here. It's a full cover, and this part comes off separate than this part. So the next step is going to be pretty much taking this upwards, and there are a few little clips that hold it on along here, but you can take a pry tool or your fingers, and you're going to just pull this upwards, and you do need to open your center console for this. Alright, so it'll look like this once you have it out, and again it's held in by a plug, so go ahead and unplug that and set it aside. Now make sure your parking brake is on for this next step, but what we're going to do is take a flathead and pry this little cover off, and then once you pry that off, we can push down in here with the flathead and move our gear shift to the neutral position. And once it's there, we can next remove our shift knob, which you just unscrew like a bolt. Don't forget to pull down this collar first. Once that's off, from here we can just pry the rest of the section up, and it'll pretty much come up and out. The only things that are holding it in are this little clip right here, and there's another one towards the front. So you can kind of pull them back to slide this up, or you can just straight up pry it up with your hands, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I got it out. I just took it out and flipped it over this way. There's still a wire connecting there. This is the one for your center control module. Little tip, you can just pry straight up, but these clips right here that clip into here, they're a little tricky. So if you're yanking on it and you're like, dude, I'm gonna break this, just make sure you're grabbing in a spot that you're not gonna break, but you won't break that, don't worry. It's just really in there, and this all comes out. And next we can get to removing some of this stuff. All right, so there's gonna be 4 screws holding this bottom radio in with a metal bracket. I took one of them out right there. There's one more there, one right there, and it's going to be the same on the other side like that one. So it's 4 of them, and this should come right out after that. All right, and once you get those screws out, I already popped it out, but you just pull, and this whole radio will come right out. Okay, so next we're going to take this panel off of back here, which all you do is you pry up and then out. And to get a little bit more access, you can kind of pull this hood forward a little bit, and all you do is you get your fingers behind here, yank it forward, and it pries it out a little bit so you have a little more space back there. So once that part is out, there are 2 10mm bolts holding your screen in. So we're going to take those out, and then your screen's going to pop forward. And like I said before, the screen just pops out. Those are the 2 clips. So you pull it from the top, and then it just slides right out. And I'm going to lay it down so I have access to the wires at the back, because that's all we need. All right, I disconnected my screen cables just so I had a little bit more slack and I could kind of show you guys what I'm going to plug in. But now that all this is apart, it looks kind of crazy, but you guys saw it wasn't that hard to take apart, not going to be that hard to put back together. But let's check out what comes in the box. So first thing, once you open the box, is the pretty much install guide. There's a bunch of pages in here that shows you how to install it. From what I've heard, it is a little hard to understand. A couple things in it are maybe wrong. I don't know, we'll figure it out, but in this video I'll show you how to do it the correct way. This is my first time looking in this box too. So next you have the CarPlay module, the actual device itself. And then under all of that are, yep, your cables. So looks a little intimidating. It is a little bit, but that's all right. We'll figure it out and I'll show you how to install. Little side note, the instructions do want you to eventually pick between storing the little module behind your radio or behind your glove compartment. You can drop down your whole glove compartment and put it behind there, but I had this guy on Instagram. Here's his @ This guy has helped me so much because he's done this install already. He gave me a couple tips, but he told me that you can just stick the module behind the radio and actually pop out this and your AC vent and just run the wires right up behind here to your screen instead of having to route it all that way and then all throughout this way. So a couple more steps to the center console thing. To take out this climate control, you just pry it straight out. And then for your AC vents, there are 4 Phillips screws under there. And after you take those out, you just pry this whole thing out. And you will need to pull this out, which I explained by prying this little hood. And this whole section will come out because there is a clip behind here for the AC vents. Okay, so I slid both the climate control and the AC vents out and just unplugged them. Those are the 2 clips for them. And there's a passageway through the back that you can pass the wires through, which will make the other steps a lot easier. Okay, so first step that I'm going to do is change my toggle switches. In here, it kind of gives you a little guide of for which screen you have and which dial setup you have, what toggle switches you have to do. Since I have the larger touchscreen, I'm going to go ahead and use this larger display instructions compared to the smaller 7 or 8 inch screen display. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle 2 and 4 down. And as you can see back here, these are the toggles. So I'm going to switch those. Now it says dial setup 1 and dial setup 2, but they look the same in the picture, so that's a little confusing. Anyways, I'm just going to go and do this first setup. If something's funky and it doesn't work, then I'm just going to try the second one. The worst that happens, I think, is your touchpad doesn't work once you plug in the module. So if that's the case, I'll just switch it around. All right, so first step we're going to do is take this mess of cables. It comes twisty tied together. So just undo it. And pretty much we're going to intercept the main power cable on the back of the radio with this new one. It's actually going to be this one right here. And this is a good example to show how to take it off. To take off the original one, you're just going to pull on this and then slide it out. And then to put this one in, you're going to push it in and then clip this. And we're just going to intercept these 2 cables. And connected to this jumble of wires that we're about to intercept is also this other cable. As you can see, they intercept it with this one. And you pretty much just plug it in and intercept this one. So you're going to unplug the old one, plug in your new one, and plug your old one into the new one. And on the original of this big connector, there is a little tab you have to push down right here before you can open this latch for the connector to come out. All right, so as you can see, I put this new cable in, and this huge one right there is the new one that I put in. And this is intercepted by the harness, so here's the OEM one that's connected to the harness, and here's the other harness that I intercepted. Boom, right there. All right, next step is plugging in the LVDS cable. It's a little bit different than how they explain on here. We're not going to plug it into the back of the head unit. What we're going to do is take it, plug it into the black module, and then why we took out the AC vents is because we're going to run it right through here. Don't worry, it won't affect how the AC vents are. We're going to run it right through here, and it's going to come out right out the top. And once we have it out the top, we're going to pretty much intercept the original screen cable. So this part's going to plug into this black module box, and then at the end of the cables, you have 2 parts. This female one is going to connect the original one into it, and then this male one is going to plug right into your screen. So as you can see, the original is plugged into there, and the new side of it is plugged right back into the screen. Okay, so I went ahead and connected this, which is the antenna. It just plugs in right here. And I also went ahead and just connected the LVDS cables, the one that plugs into the screen, into the module box. And I went ahead and connected the end of this big harness into the module. So it's just the tail of this long harness. And speaking of the long harness, there's also this little audio jack on the long harness, and you aren't going to need that, so don't worry about that one. So for this antenna, we can't route it next to something metal, so you can't stick it to this. You really can't stick it anywhere around here. And we are going to be putting the module box back there, so we definitely can't put it anywhere in this radio region. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it to the glove box. Which what I'm probably going to do is, as soon as you open the glove box right here, it gives you access, boom, right into the glove box. This little crack right there. So I think I'm just going to pretty much run it into there and just have the antenna sitting in the glove box because there's nothing metal in there. There is the option to connect the audio ground and a ground together. That is only if there's distorted noise or the sound is kind of weak or it's not working altogether. And a buddy of mine that has already installed this on his car told me that the sound was a little distorted at high volume, and connecting the audio ground and the ground does help. So we are going to connect these two together. To do that, we're going to take the audio ground right here. This is extending off this big main harness that you connect to the head unit. And in this little wrap of wires with this yellow and blue connector on it, there's going to be a bunch of wires like this. But as you can see, there's one black wire called ground. So what we're going to do is take this connector, plug it into where it says video. And once that's plugged in, we're just going to splice or cut this black wire, then connect it to this audio ground wire. And you can use a connector, or you can just cut them, strip them, and wrap them together and then tape them up. That's exactly what I'm going to do. All right, guys, we're almost done. So after connecting those two ground cables together, we're going to use this screen power cable, which is the one with the little brown wrapping around it. And we're going to intercept the original screen power cable, kind of like that. So you're going to unplug the black one, plug this in between it, and plug it right back into the OEM screen, which I already have done. You unplug the black one, plug the black one into the white part, and then plug this right back into the OEM screen. You don't need to do anything with these gray and green wires right here. But the long wire that branches off of this one, you will plug it in right there to the right of the video. And I ran it right down through the same spot that I did the LVDS cables, right through the AC kind of. Now there's something called a joystick extension cable. It would intercept your joystick right here and would plug in between these two. It looks like this. It has a little tee off and it has a cord. You do not need that. I do not need that. You do not need that. So throw that away, disregard it. You don't need that in order for this to work. So next is the antenna. You just plug that in like I have. Just plugged in right where it says RF cable. And then you're going to run that to the glove box like I explained earlier. And guys, guess what? This is it. From here, you're done. Once that's all plugged in, you can power on your car and you can hold your menu button and it will go to your CarPlay. Now, I have checked to make sure everything works. It does. For a little bit, I was like, it's not working, what's wrong? This main power cable right here, the CAN one, make sure it's pushed in all the way, because mine was kind of halfway pushed in and I thought I had it in all the way, but once it clicked, everything worked as normal. So your joystick should be working, your menu button should be working, everything should be working. So I'm going to prop my screen up right here, turn on my car. And as you can see, the Lexus infotainment turns on. There's my little image of my car. My radar detector is going off like crazy. And as you can see, it loads up to the original infotainment screen. And to get to CarPlay, you're gonna hold menu button for 5 seconds. So I'm gonna hold it and show you the screen. And you'll hear the box right here click a little bit. And it loads this menu up right here. Now, I have already connected my CarPlay. So if I press CarPlay right here, it's gonna give me an error. But for you, what you would do is you would click CarPlay right here and it would bring you to a screen where it has a little refresh circle in the top right. And what you do is you select that refresh circle with your joystick and go to your phone's settings, and then it will show up in your Bluetooth a CarPlay, and then it'll say CarPlay and then a bunch of numbers after it. And once you connect to that, you're set up and ready to go. Now, a couple things I do recommend is your joystick will feel a little bit sensitive at first, so to fix that, you're going to want to come to settings. And do keep in mind, you can use these up and down selections that it might actually even make it easier to select things. So let's go ahead and go to reverse. And a couple things I want you guys to make sure is make sure your settings are the same as mine. I already altered a couple, so make sure everything is off there. Make sure your reverse camera is on original. Make sure reverse screen is off. Make sure reverse match original is on disabled. And then 360 display is off. And then reverse should be perfectly fine after that. If you throw your car in reverse, everything should be normal. And then after that, you want everything here just to look the same as mine. It should pretty much all be the same. The main thing that's going to make your touchpad or little joystick less sensitive is this touchpad / remote leveler. You want to change it to remote leveler. It will be on touchpad to begin with. Once you do that, it should be good to go. So from here you can press back and you'll be back here, and you can go ahead and load into CarPlay like I was saying. And once you set up CarPlay and you're in this screen, you don't click CarPlay to go back to CarPlay again. There'll be this little CarPlay icon in the top left here. For me, mine is not displaying right now because my Bluetooth is off, because I don't want my phone to connect to my car because I'm filming. But that is exactly how you get back to CarPlay if you go to this menu. To get to this menu, there'll be a little home icon in your main CarPlay. But once you're in CarPlay, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Now, CarPlay's audio is all right. It's not the best. Connecting those two ground cables like we did will make it a little bit better. I think what I'm going to do is actually use my Lexus IS audio, so my regular Bluetooth audio connection. I just selected my main infotainment, the OEM infotainment selection, and that's what I'll play my music through. Now, if you do want to play it through CarPlay, in your OEM music selection, you'll select the aux. And aux, or auxiliary, is what will play music through CarPlay. So you should be completely good after that. Now, I'm going to put this module right back there. There's enough space back there where I can stick this and it won't get in the way of the head unit. You can stick it behind your glove box. I just don't feel like doing that. But other than that, from here on out, just pretty much put everything back together, and I'll see you in a second. But for me, it'll probably be like 5-10 minutes. All right, guys, I got it all back together. As you can see, everything is in one piece again. And once you take it apart, it's pretty easy to put back together because you're like, okay, I know exactly where it goes. And just another thing to specify, this part of the radio right here, this bottom part, there is space to put the module box under it. So if you kind of have this radio out to the side, like when you're working on it, and you put the module, the little black box, and you put it on the floor of back there, right on the bottom, this radio, this head unit can slide in and it'll be above it actually, and you'll have plenty of space. And I also went ahead and, well, you can't even see, but I ran my antenna wire to my glove box, and my antenna's in my glove box, so it's away from any metal. So everything is back together, and here's what it looks like. So guys, overall, it's a fairly simple install. The instructions are, well, for lack of better terms, terrible. They're not the best. They do include pretty much everything you need to do, but how they're formatted is just pretty confusing. So hopefully this video does help and does clear up things. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's done an install video for this exact type of module. TanzaWorks is very helpful when it comes to their customer service, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM or email them. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram at gray_3is. My last video, I installed those mirror turn signals, so check it out if you haven't already. The interface for the CarPlay is really nice. I really enjoy it. It is so cool looking up there and seeing CarPlay on my infotainment screen. It is amazing. I've wanted it ever since I've tried CarPlay on a car. I was like, whoa, this is great. I want this on my car. And now that it's readily available and for a great price, I say cop it. It's worth it, especially since my guide is out here now. It should not be too hard to install. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it. It was a little frustrating at times, but now that I got it figured out, I hope you guys can too. Shout out to TanzaWorks, and thank you so much for sponsoring this video and sending this unit out to me to make this video. I'm sure this will help all of your customers out there in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed. Other than that, this has been Mr. Gray3is, and I'll see you in the next one. Walking on